Hi there. Tonight for dinner is kale and quinoa salad with tofu and miso. So let's get started. First, we're gonna make sure I've got all the ingredients handy. And let's see, we need, first of all, quinoa. And I get this at Trader Joe's, but you know, get it wherever. White quinoa, or you know, if you like the colored kind, you can. No big deal. So quinoa and rice vinegar, and Mirin right here. And actually, we had a conversation about this earlier today, Anna, and I said this is a sweet rice wine, cooking rice wine, but this Kikkoman, which is probably not the best, but you know what? Get it. It's easy to find. It just says it's a sweet cooking rice seasoning. So, whatever. We need also sesame oil. Should be toasted or roasted sesame oil, but you know, whatever you can get. And also some grapeseed oil. Yeah, it's grapeseed oil. Comes from Trader Joe's. What else? Okay, so you can use Sriracha if you have some. I had some, but I finally threw it out because it had been in the refrigerator a really long time. They come in these huge bottles, and I just don't eat it that much. So I'm gonna opt out this time because I'm out. I need a nice bunch of kale. Beautiful. I haven't washed it yet, so whatever. I'm gonna need a knob of fresh garlic. Sorry, fresh ginger. And that's fresh ginger. Gonna need some miso, white miso. The recipe calls for extra firm tofu, and all I have is firm. It'll do. And maple syrup. It's for serving. So we'll get to that last, I guess. Okay, I think that's everything. Let's start off by getting that quinoa cooked because it's gonna take at least 20 minutes. So we need, in a small saucepan, half a cup of quinoa and 3/4 of a cup water. But don't put it in yet. You have to rinse quinoa because if you don't, it's gonna be bitter, and you don't want bitter quinoa. So here's what I'm gonna do. I have this fine mesh sieve, and I'm gonna use that because these are pretty small. So if you just put it in a colander, you're gonna wash away your quinoa. So I'll get, come with me, measuring cup. Actually, I also need a liquid measuring cup. Have I ever told you the difference between these two types of measuring cups? These are for dry ingredients. We use these to measure dry things, you know, like flour and sugar and quinoa. Anything dry, you use these. This is a liquid measuring cup. I mean, technically, you're supposed to be able to use dry on this side and liquid on this side. I almost never use this side. Liquid. So the difference is, if you put liquid into one of these, you better have a very steady hand to walk, you know, to wherever it is you need to dump it. Liquid leaves a little space. This is my Tupperware one. I have a glass one, but it's the same deal. There's a little space here so that you don't have to worry about spilling. And also, maybe even more importantly, liquid measurements are slightly larger than dry. Anyway, Just thought you should know. So I'm gonna get my half cup and I'm going to turn you down here so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. I'll put it in here in case I spill any. Half cup. And we're going to rinse it. I like to spray rinse because, you know, the extra force, I think it does a better job. And you can see pretty quickly the foaminess goes away. Sort of like when we open up the cans of beans. So there's that. I'm going to go get a small saucepan and put, here I'll tell you what I'm going to do so you don't have to, you know, wait for me and watch everything. I'm going to put that in a small saucepan with 3/4 cup water, so a little more than the same amount. Put it on the stove, turn the heat to high, bring it to a boil, and then turn it to low and set the timer for 20 minutes, and it should be perfect. So I've put the quinoa and the water in the small saucepan, as you can see here. Put it on high heat, well, high, and it's just starting to boil. You don't really have to put the lid on yet, but it'll make it boil faster. So as soon as it starts boiling, I'm going to turn the heat to low, and I said 20 minutes because that's what I have done in the past, but I just checked the recipe and it says 10 to 12 minutes. So we'll see. Okay, now it's boiling. Lid on and turn it down to low or maybe a medium low, and I'll set the timer for 10 minutes and we can just check and see. So now we need to get our ingredients ready. So here we are, my workstation. So I have this thing that's pretty cool. It's a ginger grater. It's quite sharp, so you want to be careful. I mean, if you have one of these things, you can get them cheap at an Asian market, but you don't have to do this. You could chop it finely, or run it through a like if you have a magic bullet or something. And I hate to admit this because we're not in person and I can't secretly tell you, but I have on occasion used powdered ginger. It's not as good, but when you don't have anything else, you know, you make do. So let's do the ginger. I'm supposed to have a knob. How much is a knob? Some ginger. Okay. So ginger has this skin on it that you need to get rid of, and where it's been broken is usually pretty dry, as you can see. So I'm gonna just cut that off. This is more than a knob, I'm sure. I'm not gonna put this whole thing in. So let's get a paring knife. This is a paring knife. And I'll cut off that. I'm hesitant because I've got these two little knobs on the sides, and neither one of those is going to be enough. I think what I'm going to do is just break these off. We'll break that one off anyway. And I'm going to go for like that much. Let's see. Oh, it says a 1-inch piece. So that's what I was thinking of as a knob. So, okay. So here's how you get rid of the skin. You just scrape it like this, and it comes off. Can you see that? Yeah. This way, you're just getting the skin without taking off a lot of ginger. Sometimes you have to cut a piece away. Okay. I think what I'm going to do is grate it at an angle. So I'm going to take a little bit more skin off one side. You know, since I have that little knob right here. Okay, so there's that. And I'll save this and I'll use that some other time. So, actually, you know, if you have any kind of grater, you could use it. In fact, I have something I might actually prefer to use. Let's just do this for now. Just rub it back and forth. Probably should have washed it first, but I did scrape off, you know, the dirty skin. Okay. And there you have grated ginger. A little spot I don't like. So this right here came with my little grater. It's made of bamboo. I'm going to use that to just kind of sweep all this off. There's a little reservoir here. Yeah, I think that's enough. Oh, it smells so good. I love ginger. All right, let me set that aside for now. And I need to chop the kale, which is over here. First need to wash it. There it is. Kale is so pretty. Wash it. Put it in this bowl. Okay, so I think you know how to wash kale, so as soon as I get this tag off, I'll turn off the video and show you what it looks like when I'm done. So I cooked the quinoa for 10 minutes and it didn't look done to me. Gave it a couple more minutes and I think it's going to be done now, so let's take a look. There's a little bit of liquid still, so I'm just going to kind of fluff it around like this. Turn off the heat and let it sit. I'm going to let it sit for about 10 minutes and it'll absorb the rest of that water and should be just right. So now we need to cut up this kale. I've washed it and it's here. Now, yesterday I did a recipe with Swiss chard, and I said, no problem, you can use the stems, but not with kale. Kale, you don't want to use the stems. They're too hard. So I'm just going to pinch off these little leaves at the top. Put them in the bowl on the bottom, and then tear off the stem until it just breaks off easily. And then I'm gonna cut it up. want to cut it a little small because this is a salad, so this isn't going to get cooked. So I'll go ahead and cut up all of the kale and I'll come back. Okay, I've chopped my kale and I've decided it's really wet. So I'm going to put it in my salad spinner just to dry the leaves off. I love my salad spinner. Very easy to use. Put everything in. And I got this at Amazon, or through Amazon. Okay. Push it. Give it a spin. Stop it. And now I have much drier kale. So I'm just going to set that aside because I'm not ready for it. Okay, now I'm going to take this large bowl, very large bowl, and I'm going to put in this the vinegar, which is going to be 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar. 2. And the miso, 1.5 tablespoons of miso. So how about if I just do this, just like a heaping tablespoon. That's going to be about 1.5. And mirin, I need 1 tablespoon of this. Mirin, I've never heard an American say it. A tablespoon of that. Oops. I need sesame oil. And 2 teaspoons of this. So this is about a teaspoon. 1, 2. I want to get every bit of that because I love it. So good. Okay, and then 2 tablespoons of grapeseed oil goes in this. Grapeseed oil is a relatively flavorless oil. Okay. And well, if I were using Sriracha, I'd put a ½ teaspoon of that in here. Okay, and ginger. So you can see, I'm just kind of trying to get all the goodness. And then just dump that in. Just love these smells. Okay, there's that. And I'm gonna just whisk this. Really, probably is too big of a bowl, but whatever. Better than being too small, right? Okay. So now I'm going to put in the kale. The recipe says massage the kale in. I'm not going to massage the kale in. I'm going to dump it and stir it. You want to coat the kale with that sauce. Oh, this isn't too large, is it? Okay. Massage. Oh, that is kind of enjoyable, isn't it? Okay, massage the kale in. Get it fully coated. And then I'm going to let it sit and marinate while I wash my hands. That is so yummy. So now I'm just going to put the kale, the cooked quinoa into the kale. It's quite hot, but that's okay. Let's put that in. And stir it up. Let all those flavors mix. So the reason this is a main dish, for me it's a main dish. It's a main dish salad because quinoa is high in protein. So you don't have to worry about your protein intake, and you got your green vegetable, kale. I'm not sure if I'm gonna, oh, and tofu also. So this is going to be a pretty high protein salad. So you're doing great with this. But, you know, you can add stuff, whatever you want. It's yours. Okay, now I'm going to set that aside. Let those flavors all mingle. And I'm going to cut up the tofu and we're going to cook that. So I have emptied the tofu container and dried the tofu with a towel. You could use a paper towel if you want. And then I'm just going to cut it into about 3/4 to 1 inch chunks, maybe 3/4 chunks. So I'll just cut it in half this way. And then, let's see, I'll do it in half and then in half again. And let's do it this way too. Just do the same thing. It's kind of big. Oh well, whatever. Okay, so that's ready. I need to heat some oil over here. I need 4 tablespoons of grapeseed oil. You know what? 4 tablespoons is the same as 1/4 cup, so I'm going to use my 1/4 cup because it's over here handy. And you get to see my new pan. I'm so excited. So this is an early birthday gift. My birthday's coming up. And I got it last night, and I wish I had gotten it before I made the gnocchi because the pan I used wasn't big enough. This is big enough. Check this out. Well, here it is with the lid. Isn't it beautiful? I love it. It is a calphalon, which is a very good kind. Now, I probably don't need this huge pan, but I'm dying to use it, so I'm going to use it. So here we go. And I know I told you about the liquid measure versus the dry measure, but I'm going to use this because, why? Because that one has water in it, and I'm going to put oil in it, so I'm going to use this one. And besides, I'm right over the pan. So remember, 4 tablespoons is the same as a 1/4 cup. Put that in. This is the first thing that's ever gone into this new pan. There we go. Get all that jazz out. You don't have to put your fingers in food like I do. I just, I don't care. Turn this up to like medium. And it does have a non-stick coating, so I'm going to use this silicone spatula. Okay. I usually would do this kind of thing in a wok. But like I said, I'm going to use this. And actually, now that I think about it, I think this is going to be a good pot to do tofu because it's going to separate everything out because it's got a flat bottom. So I think this is going to work well. So, in we go. And of course I want to break that up. So we have a single layer. I've turned this on. Oh, this is kind of large right there. You might want to make them a little smaller because they're going to puff up. Well, they might puff up when they get going. Okay, I've got them all separated, single layer. And I want this thing to get hot pretty quickly. So, I bet you know what I'm going to do. I'm putting the lid on. Love the glass lid. I really love using glass lids because then you can see what you're doing. Okay, so this is going to take a few minutes. I'm going to try to get all 4 sides to be a nice golden brown. We'll see what it looks like when I get done. So once you get the oil hot in the pan, you really don't need to put the lid back on. And you don't have to constantly be flipping these, but as you can see, some of them are beautifully golden brown and some of them look undone. So I'm just trying to get all the sides to look like that. That'll be perfect. So I have added the tofu in with everything else, and I'm stirring it all up nicely. I think this is going to be delicious. It took about 15 minutes to cook the tofu, and I did keep flipping it over to try to get all the sides, although I can see some sides aren't as brown as the others, but whatever. So, I'm going to serve it up. Okay, and if you have Sriracha, this is when you would drizzle the top with that. I don't have that, but you also drizzle the top with maple syrup, and I do have that. So here we go. Just a little bit. And that looks delicious.